Welcome to Wild Hand. Today our guest is Elísabet Ronaldsdóttir, the editor of Bullet Train, Deadpool 2, Kate, Atomic Blonde, Shang-Chi and Contraband. We talk about Bullet Train, process of making that film, how she became an editor and much more. As always, if you could like, subscribe, hit the notification bell and enjoy the show. Hi Elísabet, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, to get started, I'd just like to know how you got involved with Bullet Train.
Well, I've been working with David Leitch and his producer, Kelly McCormick, for 9 years now. So we do have a long-term working relationship. So, but because of logistics, I wasn't able to be with him on his last movie. So we were thrilled to be back working again. Yeah, but like I say, I've been working with him ever since we did John Wick.
No, that's great. Yeah, it is. And I suppose, how did that relationship come about with you and David, and sort of going into Bullet Train? There was a lot of kind of logistic issues, I suppose, because it was shot during COVID. How did you come on to filming or editing and that kind of process?
So I was actually on another movie when they were filming. I was on Shang-Chi.
Okay.
We got stuck in Australia for a year on Shang-Chi. That was never the plan. But, we were all a bit confused there in the beginning. It's going to be 2 weeks, with it's the last plane out. It was that kind of panic there in the beginning. And we decided, or Marvel decided, we should stay there and wait it out. No one knew how long this would take. So we waited it out and then we started shooting again. We were halfway through shooting Shang-Chi when the lockdown came. And then we started, I'm not sure about the dates, but I think it was probably end of October or something, like mid-October. I'm not sure. Right. Where we started filming again. It's all like a one mess this year.
Yeah, it is.
Where we completely lost all sense of time. But so we started shooting again and finished just before Christmas. Right. And at that time, they were filming Bullet Train, but they wanted to wait for me. So another editor came in and handled the dailies. And then mid-February, like 2 weeks before principal photography on Bullet Train ended, I came on.
Right, okay. So you kind of...
Schiff was on it until then, and he passed the torch. He actually went to a Marvel movie.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, well,
like passing the torch.
He did the John Wick 2 and 3 as well, didn't he? Yeah. So that's kind of good as well, I suppose. So yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, with that process, is that, I suppose it'll be in different normal kind of processes. You jump onto the film from the beginning. So do you find, was that a bit difficult? Was that
yeah, it was a bit tricky. Thankfully I got the dailies every day, so I could go through. It's a what do you call it, an app or a software that's called Pix, where they load the dailies every day, so I could like see the dailies, but it's not a great software for editors. So I could like, what's the dailies? But then when I came back, I just had to dive in and go just to have a sense of what was there.
Yeah.
And then we spent a year editing it.
Yeah. With that as well, was much changes from the original script?
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. Because a script is a certain kind of language, just like, a radio episode or a podcast is also a different kind of language.
Yeah.
So a movie is a different kind of language from a script. Mm-hmm. So my job is I get all the translations people have to do, costumes, hair and makeup, cinema photography, through the vision of the director, have translated into their craft.
Yeah.
And then all of this lands on my table and I have to translate the script into a moving image, a movie.
Yeah.
and at the same time respecting what everyone else has brought to the table, to the translation. So yeah, it changed a lot. It did.
The way the characters are portrayed in the film, they're quite big. They're all, very flamboyant as well. They all stand out. And the way you're able to tell these kind of mini narratives of each character, their backstories, how it all leads into the ending, how they all play a part, is so well done. Because again, sometimes
all that is scripted. It's all scripted.
Yeah.
It's some of them we moved a tiny bit around as you move, sentences when you're translating. So a different language, but things moved around, and the whole beginning we changed that a lot.
Yeah.
Because in the book, as in the script, it's chapters. Like you get to know each character by chapter, and this works beautifully in the book. It works beautifully in the script, but when it's in the movie language, for the first thing, it took too long. And also, when we started to intertwine them, where he's bumping into the sun, into Kimura, Ladybug is bumping into Kimura, walking past, you get it all at the same time. Like you got a greater sense of fate, which you get from the script and you absolutely get from the book. But in moving language, it came down a bit flat. So as soon as we started intertwining them, you got a greater sense of fate.
In this day and age, there are a lot of book adaptations to screen. And I think it's very difficult because a book has that time to really lay out the whole scene, build those relationships with the characters. And you have to do that in such a small space of time. And
also this is a language where a monologue can become a look.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the monologue is unnecessary in the script, because the actor needs that monologue to give that look. But once we have the movie, the look is sometimes it's enough.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just want to point out, I've just noticed the shirt that you're wearing. That's really good. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, the bullet.
Yeah.
Brad actually designed this shirt.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
that's
like a collage of everything from the movie.
Oh, that's brilliant. Did he because normally with the editing process, it tends to be the directors or the producers that end up in the editing suite with you. Was that the same process? Were there any actors or anyone else that came into the editing suite with you to discuss kind of the process of that?
Was so generous. He came for a week, just hanging around, looking at takes, talking, discussing.
That's really good.
It was so much fun. Yeah,
that's really
very inspiring.
How did you get into editing? Not many people just say, I want to be an editor. They don't even know that's a thing.
I absolutely did not. No, that was not what I was aiming for. I went to film school in London. I went to London. It was then London International Film School.
Okay.
Now it's only London Film School in Soho. And I was concentrating on cinema photography. I was so fascinated by it, also like very philosophical about light and shadow. And so I was all for that. And there I got to learn. I never thought of an editor. I didn't think about it. But then I started to get introduced to the process of editing. And when I came out of film school, I kind of just took me like a year. I just shifted into the editing suite, and I've been there since. And I think I'm in my right place. I still enjoy it after, more, 30 years of editing, and I'm still having fun with it, still enjoying it. It's my thing.
Obviously, you're in London. You've gone to film school. Did you go back to Iceland and start cinematography and some directing there, or did you start in London?
Yeah, no, I started in London. I did some work both as an operator and focus puller and stuff like that. And then I had a baby at the time. My son was 7 years old when we were in London. And it was kind of difficult to be a single mom in London with a baby. So I decided, okay, I'm going to give up. I'm going to go back to Iceland. Iceland is so great in the sense it's small, but at the same time, we have a very vivid film industry. There's so much happening. So I kind of come into that. Everything is like blossoming. And in the beginning, I kept going like cinema photography. But then I got pregnant again. Okay. And I thought, oh, gosh, it's because if you have a set of 50 people waiting for you, it's not going to be like, oh, the daycare is closed today, and you bring your baby to set. I mean, there are just too many elements. So, so I went back into the editing, like full time. And then when he was a bit older, I could have gone back, but I was just in love with the process at that time.
Yeah.
But also, I've always been a single mom, more or less. Mm-hmm. And which I also think is like a film curse. You're passionate about your work. You're probably putting too much time in it. So I just found it was time managing was so much easier because you're so much alone.
Yeah.
And then I just got stuck there. And also because I got more and more like interested in how you can shape a story, how you can shape a character, how you can play with the pace, all of this stuff that is so much fun. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
No, and I think that's I'm glad you brought that up, that you had a child when you were in London and then another child when you were back in Iceland, because
and 2 more later. So
wow, right, okay. That's that, again, there seems to be more women coming through in the editing process, and I think part of it again is the lack of people knowing what an editor is until you're in the industry, and I think part of it is again people not knowing about people like you, that it can be done. There are a lot of single.
But I have to say, there are so many. There are so many women editors, and it's always been strong with the women, the editing part, which I think is partly this, that it's easier to time manage. Some of them probably have made amazing directors.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important for the viewers to get a very diverse voices telling story. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important that women become directors, screenwriters, producers, and a lot of women are producers, creative producers. Is kind of a new concept. It used to be just producer, like money-making producer. Now they're creative producers, and you have really strong women there. Kelly McCormick being one, who's produced all of those amazing action movies.
Well, this is it. She pretty much works with David Leitch on every film, and obviously she does other things. That she's done other stuff as well. But I do think that it is good to see. And again, a lot of women who are single mothers, the automatic thing is their life is put on hold because that they have a child. The fact that you're able to do this and still navigate through the film industry and get to where you are now is very inspirational, and that's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I always say children are not they are not trouble. They're part of life. And in the old days, they used to work with us. People went, harvesting and stuff. They took their children with them. They were part of society. Now we don't allow really children to be part of our society until suddenly they're grown up and thrown into it.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if they have the same connection to that it's their society, because they're never allowed to be a part of it. So I always say this in LA. People bring dogs. They have dog care centers. Because people. So just treat children like dogs.
Yeah.
Bring them to work. Have your studio, put up a child care center. Like they should be a part of our life, and it's their society just as much as ours.
Definitely.
And I think they get a stronger sense of being a part of it if they're allowed to participate.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm assuming you've worked on commercials and other corporate stuff as well. How did you get into the actual sort of feature film process and kind of getting up to the levels of, say, John Wick, Deadpool 2?
I did everything. Again, also as a single mom, and you had to you were the one bringing bread to the table, and so yeah, I had to work. I took everything, all kinds of corporate stuff, boring stuff. TV news. I did TV news for a year. A lot of short films, a lot of documentaries, and then movies. And the thing is, I was always being told, no, you have to concentrate. You're never getting anywhere if you don't like focus on what you want to do. But when I look back, everything I went through editing has given me tools that helped me so much to where I am today. Like just doing corporate stuff teaches you to find beauty in boring. You have to find the essence of everything just to make it kind of interesting. So that's something I learned very soon is very important. Try to do the best out of what you have, even if it's a corporate thing. News taught me to work really fast. I work really fast. And I think that's the news where you had to because every news story is just a tiny little story that you have to boil down to, even seconds, but still get the message across. Great school. I worked on a children's TV show for a year. It's called Lazy Town. It was produced in Iceland, and that's all blue screen. And I didn't even get credit for it. I put my son on credit. He's Loie Elísabet in the credit.
Right, okay, that was a good idea.
That was so hilarious. But he was always with me there, so I thought it was nice.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's all blue screen and green screen, and just learning to work using your imagination. Are you kidding me? That's been it was a great school for what was to come. Then I did an animation movie, Thor, God of Thunder, which was an Icelandic animation for children about, Thor.
Yeah.
Again, just having to build up from storyboards and doing all the voices to time out stuff, and then going into animatics and, taking all this, which also has helped because huge part in Deadpool, for example, it was at least 2, 3 animated characters. In Shang-Chi, they were so many, the big one being the dragon, but all the animals, it's all, so everything has brought me tools that I can use when doing Hollywood blockbusters. So I'm really grateful for that journey. But in Iceland, I soon got working with Baltasar Kormákur, who is an Icelandic director,
okay,
but also a producer. And he produced a movie that's called Reykjavík Rotterdam, directed by Óskar Jónasson. It's an Icelandic comedy.
Okay.
And they optioned it, and Universal / working title, it's a working title slate with Universal, remade it as Contraband.
That's with Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yes,
right?
with Mark Wahlberg, that Baltasar directed, and I was asked to edit that.
Right.
Really, so much fun. Also, they're so different, the two movies. They're nothing alike. You probably won't think you're watching the same.
Yeah.
But so when we were doing Contraband, I met an amazing editor, Dodi Dern, who has she's done so much. I mean, everything from Memento, she edited Memento.
Love that.
The last thing she edited was the Snyder Cut. Right. So she has like a very broad.
She's gone through everything.
She's a goddess, like a goddess, and I absolutely adore her. We met through a friend, and we had dinner together, and we clicked, and she contacted her agents. So they asked me to come in for an interview, and I'm kind of from Iceland. I didn't even know what this was about, like agents, like what do they do, and I went to meet them, William Morris, and then I kept working with Baltasar for a year, and then he was doing 2 guns, but wanted an American editor on it. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, so this is it. And then my agency called a year after I signed up with them. I obviously had been working all the time, but not through them. And they called and asked me to meet those 2 stuntmen wanting to be direct the first full feature. And I was like, yeah, this is the end of my Hollywood career. But I went to meet them, and David wasn't there when I came. I met Chad, and we completely clicked. And we had it, you know, those interviews is like maybe half an hour, maybe an hour if you're lucky. We were like half a day, just he was showing me everything, like going through it. And we had so much fun. And but I had to wait to talk to David to get the job. But and that didn't happen until a month later. We had a Skype, and after that I was hired. And so it was amazing. And we did John Wick, such a beautiful experience. But it was also tough, like really tough. It was a $20 million movie shot in New York, which is probably the most expensive city to shoot in. So it was tough, but we had so much fun. And those guys, both Chad and David, they're just so passionate about, you know, this genre, about movies in general, and about action. It was such a great time. And I've done a lot of dance short films, so I'm very used to handling choreography, which I think is another tool I had going into it, that I've done so many music videos, like choreographed, not music, but dance videos. Yeah.
The fact that you have met these guys and still carried on working with David throughout this process, and Kelly as well. You know, is there anything with you guys in the future, or is it a kind of you taking a break?
We are going to Australia. They are already in Australia prepping, and I'm going beginning of October for a movie called Fall Guy. The Fall Guy.
Right. Okay.
Ryan
Fun times ahead.
Fun. Yeah.
That should be good.
Fun.
Yeah.
Super exciting. Yes, it's gonna be great. But we also, like I say, we have such a long working relationship that we work really well together, I think. And I think it's important to find your clan, you know, for everyone. Find your clan, like, because no one person makes a movie. No one.
Exactly.
It takes a village. So find your village, like find people you enjoy working with, or you believe are going places, and, you know, join them.
Any advice for aspiring movie editors?
Yeah, I mean, be lucky because a lot of this is luck. I know there are better editors out there than me. I'm just lucky. But you also have to be open for the opportunities when they show themselves, and be unafraid. I mean, it is a lot to, like, suddenly go to a country you don't know to shoot a movie with people you really don't know. And, you know, so be brave also taking the dialogue, be brave having fun with the material. Don't be scared of it. You know, you can bait it and sway it as you like, and then just go back if it doesn't work. Just have fun with it, play with it, and find the joy in whatever you're doing now. It might feel super boring, but make it fun for you by, like, just experimenting. How can I make this interesting? How can I make this work?
Thank you for your time, Elizabeth, and good luck with Fall Guy, and hopefully we'll speak at some point in the future.
I hope so too. Take good care.